This evening, first up, two masked gunmen, one motorcycle, and a hail of bullets at the Vigilance South shop. Cordel August and Headley are dead in what bears every hallmark of a targeted execution. A community is shaken and the killers are still out there. Also, a police corporal charged with mowing down two men and driving away. Investigators said he tried to cover it up with a story about the trench, but the damage to his car and traces of blood told another tale. He is now on more than $1.5 million bail. Then, nearly 6 years after Isaiah and Joel Henry were butchered in the Cotton Tree backlands, life imprisonment for the two men who killed them, a minimum of 35 years each. Their mothers did not live to see this day, but justice at long last has been served. Meanwhile, no bank account, no problem. A third phase of the $100,000 cash grant is now open, with checks available through the online portal. Over 470,000 Guyanese have already been paid, and the government says no eligible citizen will be left out. And the rivers that gave life to Bangladesh's capital for centuries are now choking on industrial waste and sewage, as one of the world's fastest growing megacities poisons the very waterways it was built on. Those stories and more are coming up. Stay with us. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for July 9th, 2026. I'm Baby Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, two men enjoying an evening gathering at a shop were cut down in a hail of gunfire on Wednesday night when two masked gunmen on a motorcycle rode up and opened fire without warning, leaving a community on the east coast of the Marara shaken and two families devastated. 22-year-old Cordel August, a wash bay attendant at Strat's Bay, and Headley, a 35-year-old self-employed resident of Vigilance South, were among a group gathered at a shop in Vigilance South, East Coast Demerara, when two males dressed in black approached on a motorcycle at approximately 10 p.m. on July 8, 2026, and discharged several rounds in their direction. Both men sustained gunshot wounds and were rushed to the Enmore Regional Hospital by pass-buyers, where they were pronounced dead on arrival. Their bodies were subsequently examined and escorted to the Memorial Gardens Funeral Home, where they await post-mortem examinations. The attack bore the hallmarks of a targeted execution. Two gunmen, dressed in black, arriving on a motorcycle and fleeing immediately after opening fire. Police in Regional Division 4C have launched a full investigation into the incident. No arrests have been made. However, investigations are ongoing. As detectives work to determine the persons and motive behind the deadly attack, two families are now left grieving, and the nation awaits answers in the wake of yet another deadly shooting. In other news, a police corporal is before the courts after allegedly mowing down two men on the east coast of the Marara in a late-night hit-and-run, fleeing the scene, and then allegedly attempting to conceal his involvement, only to be undone by damage to his vehicle and suspected blood traces detected by investigators. Sharif Mohammed, a 29-year-old police corporal stationed at the Annandale Police Outpost, appeared before the Coven John Magistrates Court on Wednesday, where he was charged with 2 counts of causing death by dangerous driving, failing to stop after an accident, failing to render assistance, operating an uncertified motor vehicle, and failing to report an accident. He was granted bail in the sum of $1.54 million. The charges stem from a fatal accident that occurred at approximately 11 p.m. on Sunday, June 28, along the Beehive Railway Embankment, East Coast Demerara. 39-year-old Collis Bristol, a construction worker of Nabaklis, and a 31-year-old Akeem Burgess, a horse cart operator of Golden Grove, were riding motorcycle CG 8393 when they were struck by a motor car that fled the scene. Public-spirited citizens came to their aid, but both men were pronounced dead. Bristol was pronounced dead at the scene, Burgess at the Enmore Regional Hospital. Investigators subsequently visited Mohammed's home at Riverview Housing Scheme Unity Mahika, where his vehicle PAK 1593 bore damage consistent with a traffic collision. Mohammed told officers he had lost control of the vehicle along the Unity Access Road and ended up in a trench, a story investigators did not accept. Officers returned days later, arrested him, and seized the vehicle. A detailed inspection detected traces of blood, providing the key evidence needed to press charges. Mohammed was granted $750,000 bail on each of the two charges of causing death by dangerous driving and $10,000 bail on each of the remaining 4 counts. Moving on, nearly $500 billion has already landed in the hands of Guyanese citizens, and the government is now launching a third phase of the national $100,000 cash grant distribution, specifically for eligible persons without bank accounts in the form of checks. Senior Minister in the Office of the President with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashni Singh, made the announcement last evening.
We are now launching the third phase of the National Cash Grant Initiative. And this third phase is the phase that is intended particularly to benefit those persons who do not have bank accounts or who, for reasons best known to themselves, would prefer to have their cash grant delivered to them by way of checks. This third phase will work as follows. The same cash grant portal that was established by the young and very talented team at the National Data Management Authority, the portal that is located at cashgrant.gov.gy now has an option for persons to self-register, but to select as their preferred option for the delivery of their cash grant the modality of a check.
These persons can visit the Cash Grant portal at cashgrant.gov.gy, complete the self-registration process, including scanning their ID card and completing a liveness check, and select check as their preferred payment method.
Those persons who have previously not registered because they didn't have a bank account or because they didn't want to provide their bank account information, you are now invited to visit cashgrant.gov.gy, register and enter your relevant identity and other information, including, of course, as you know, the system requires you to scan your ID card, provide your other pertinent details. It does a liveness check, meaning that it verifies that you are the real person and alive. And it then gives you an option to request check payment. And once you request check payment, your details will then be entered into the system. We will then undertake a simple verification process to confirm your eligibility for the cash grant.
Once registered, citizens will be notified via the portal or by phone call when their check is ready and where it can be collected. Dr. Singh confirmed that over 470,000 eligible Guyanese have so far received the grant, placing more than $47 billion in disposable income directly into the hands of citizens nationwide. The distribution has been conducted in phases. The first phase saw direct deposits into the bank account of public servants and self-registered citizens. The second phase targeted hinterland and outlying communities without banking access, as well as shut-ins, residents of shelters, hostels, and senior citizens' homes who were visited by the government team and processed for check payment. The newly launched third phase now opens the process to eligible citizens without bank accounts not previously registered. Stick around when we return. Reckless overtaking maneuver kills passenger and leaves 2 drivers critically injured. And justice. Nearly 6 years later, 2 men sentenced to life in prison for the murders of the Henry boys.
H&T Theater Arts Group presents Till I Find a Place in Guyana, Part 3. She's back.
First, it was the Spanish Connection.
I am pregnant for the same man you say can't get you pregnant. Yes, you are buying as a friend.
Then it was the Spanish baby.
Listen, I still want for that with you, okay? And I say first come, first serve.
And I said first come, first go.
Now this
What make you come to Abidis?
This woman messing up my life, man. And why you get rid of shit? We go fix shit for you.
Master de me? Por favor.
Saturday, July 18th and Sunday, July 19th at the National Cultural Center. Tickets $3,000 and $2,500. Written by Ronald Hollingsworth and directed by Sharon Cadogan Taylor and Ronald Hollingsworth. Till I Find a Place in Guyana, Part 3. She's back.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
GECOM will be conducting a claims and objections exercise commencing July 1, 2026 to produce an official list of electors, OLE. If you will be 18 years or older by June 30, 2026, and you are a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, or naturalization, or a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more, you are eligible for inclusion in the OLE. GECOM has posted the preliminary list of electors, PLE, in all the registration divisions across Guyana for you to check whether you are listed, and if so, whether your particulars are accurate. You can make a claim for registration, change, correction to your particulars, or you can object to the inclusion of anyone whom you believe should not be on the list. If you are desirous of making a claim or objection, you must visit the GECOM registration office responsible for your area of residence to do so. Visit the GECOM registration office responsible for your area of residence to conduct any of the above transactions. All GECOM registration offices will open Monday to Friday from 8 to 18 hours, Saturday, Sunday and holidays from 10 to 14 hours. For more information, contact the GECOM on 225-0278-9 or visit www.gecom.org.gy.
Welcome back. A split-second decision to overtake on a busy public road cost the woman her life and the two drivers fighting for theirs on Wednesday evening. The latest fatal consequence of dangerous driving on Ghana's roadways. 49-year-old Cheryl Skeet of Sousdike, East Bank Demerara, was killed when the vehicle she was traveling in was struck head-on by a car attempting to overtake another vehicle along Covered-in Public Road, East Bank Demerara, at approximately 6:45 p.m. on July 8. According to initial investigations, motorcar PAM 2468, driven by a 44-year-old male of Cordel, was traveling north along the western driving lane at an allegedly fast rate behind motorcar PYY 615 when the driver attempted to overtake and cross into the path of oncoming motorcar PAM 6733, driven by a 49-year-old female of Sousdike who was traveling south along the eastern driving lane. The head-on collision caused extensive damage to both vehicles. Emergency medical technicians pronounced Skeet dead at the scene. The driver of her vehicle was extracted by members of the Ghana Fire Service and rushed to the Diamond Regional Hospital, where her condition is registered as critical. The driver of the overtaken vehicle was also hospitalized and is listed in critical but stable condition. Cheryl Skeet's body was escorted to the Memorial Gardens Funeral Home, where it awaits a postmortem examination. Police investigations into the fatal crash are continuing as they work to determine all the circumstances surrounding the collision. The tragedy serves as another stark reminder of the devastating consequences of reckless driving and overtaking, and the importance of exercising patience and caution on the nation's roadways. They waited nearly 6 years for justice. The mothers of Isaiah and Joel Henry did not live to see it, but on Wednesday, The Burmese High Court delivered life imprisonment for the two men convicted of one of the most brutal and heartbreaking murders in Guyana's recent history. Justice Simone Morris handed down two concurrent life sentences, each to Vinud Gopal and Anil Sanchara, ruling that both men must serve a minimum of 35 years before becoming eligible for parole. Both maintained their innocence before sentencing, but the judge was clear. A unanimous jury had spoken. There were no mitigating factors, and the brutality of the crime demanded nothing less than the full weight of the law. Cousins 16-year-old Isaiah Henry and 18-year-old Joel Henry disappeared on September 5, 2020, after venturing into Cotton Tree Back Dam of West Coast Berbice, where they were believed to be picking coconuts. Their mutilated bodies were discovered the following day, bearing multiple chop wounds and injuries to the spine and skull. It is alleged that they had stumbled upon a marijuana farm and paid for it with their lives. The trial, which began in early May and ran for 5 weeks, heard testimony from more than 45 witnesses. The key witness was Akash Singh, a friend of both convicted men, who testified that he was present during the attack and was forced to participate. Singh remains before the court in the same charge. Justice Morris described the killings as acts of extreme brutality, carried out with grave disregard for human life, noting that the teenagers posed no threat whatsoever to their attackers. Psychiatric evaluation found no mental condition that reduced either men's criminal responsibility, and probation reports provided no basis for leniency. The murders of Isaiah and Joel Henry ignited a national outcry and violent protests as communities demanded justice. Their mothers, who fought for answers, both passed away before seeing this day. Wednesday's sentencing will not bring them back, but for a nation that watched and waited, justice, however long it took, has finally been served. Don't go away after the break. Mali's humanitarian crisis spills across borders, and young Africans recruited to fight Russia's war in Ukraine as families seek answers.
H&T Theatre Arts Group presents Till I Find a Place in Guyana, Part 3. She's back.
First it was the Spanish connection.
I am pregnant for the same man you say can't get you pregnant. Yes, you are buying as a prince.
Then it was the Spanish baby.
Listen, I still want for that with you, okay? And I say first come, first serve.
And I said first come, first go.
Now then.
What make you come to have this?
This woman messing up my life, man. And why y'all get rid of shit? We go fix shit for you.
That's the me. Por favor.
Saturday, July 18 and Sunday, July 19 at the National Cultural Center. Tickets $3,000 and $2,500. Written by Ronald Hollingsworth and directed by Sharon Cadogan Taylor and Ronald Hollingsworth. Till I Find a Place in Guyana, Part 3. She's back.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
GECOM will be conducting a claims and objections exercise commencing July 1, 2026 to produce an official list of electors, OLE. If you will be 18 years or older by June 30, 2026, and you are a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, or naturalization, or a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more, you are eligible for inclusion in the OLE. GECOM has posted the preliminary list of electors offices, PLE, in all the registration divisions across Guyana for you to check whether you are listed and if so, whether your particulars are accurate. If you have changed your address since you were registered, you need to visit the GECOM registration office responsible for your new area of residence to apply for a transfer. Tuesday, July 14, 2026 is the last day you can apply for a transfer during this exercise. For more information, contact the GECOM on 2250-278-9 or visit www.gecom.org.gy.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world.
Good evening, I'm Dominic Gittins tonight. Antigua's Prime Minister calls on the US to ease visa restrictions hitting trade and families. Russia's war ripples through African communities far from the front lines. Bangladesh rivers choke under the weight of a sprawling megacity, and Mali's conflict drives hundreds of thousands from their homes. We will begin in the Caribbean. Antigua and Barbuda Prime Minister Gaston Brown has called on the United States to lift tightening visa restrictions affecting trade, families, and students with ties to the country. Speaking on the sidelines of the CARICOM summit in St. Lucia, Brown said Antigua and Barbuda remains open to a third country national agreement with Washington, but only under conditions that fully protect national security. Thousands of kilometers from the battlefields of Ukraine, the consequences of Russia's war are being felt in towns and villages across parts of Africa. Al Jazeera's Nicholas Haig reports.
Where is my son Moses? Mama Regina wonders. And why did he lie to her? He left his pregnant wife and son telling them he had gone to Johannesburg for work. Weeks later, he sent this picture from the front line in Ukraine. They spoke. He said he was fighting for Russia, for the money, for her. Then the messages stopped. Silence turned to fear and guilt. A year later, another Cameroonian fighter announced Moses' death. He says he was shot by Ukrainian forces as he ran for cover. Another African dying in a European war, far from home.
I want to warn other families, don't let your children go to Russia. It's a one-way journey, a journey with no return.
Despite her pleas, more and more Africans are heading to the front lines. Ukraine claims nearly 3,000 Africans from 35 countries are fighting for Russia. It accuses Moscow of actively recruiting across the continent. Sergei Elidinov, a former Russian officer who served in Europe and Africa, denies that accusation. He says Russia doesn't need to recruit because, according to him, plenty of young Africans are volunteering to fight. Some even come to him offering their services.
You agree to the terms, you accept the pay, then you find your own way. All these stories about Russian houses or recruitment networks across Africa, they are simply not true. They don't exist. There is no need for that. Offer them money and people come to us on their own.
I ask him how much the Russian army pays.
They are paid roughly $3,000. On top of that, there are combat bonuses. Even by European standards, that's good money. For many Africans, it's a very attractive offer.
Professor Aishat Pembura is researching the phenomena. She says while many of those heading to Russia are African fighters deserting their posts, they're not the only ones.
They're young Africans from all kinds of backgrounds, some with valuable skills and education, leaving for this uncertain journey. And every one of them is a loss for Africa. It's a new form of migration, driven by the same hope as always, a chance for a better life.
Cameroon and Russia say they are working to bring the bodies home. Mama Regina is still waiting for Moses' remains, for a burial, for answers, and for a war on another continent, costing so many lives, to end. Nicholas Hawk, Al Jazeera, Douala, Cameroon.
For centuries, rivers surrounding Bangladesh capital were its lifelines. But the riverways are now being choked with industrial waste, sewage, and rubbish as Dhaka has grown to become one of the world's fastest growing megacities. Al Jazeera's Tanvi Chowdhury reports.
Bangladesh's capital Dhaka is the world's second largest city, home to nearly 37 million people. As the mega city expands, a fight to keep it livable is unfolding along the four rivers that once sustained it. Abu Said says his family has farmed this land on the outskirts of Dhaka for generations, but he doesn't know how much longer he'll be able to continue.
The polluted river is damaging our paddies. Often our crops are ruined when the water seeps into our land. It's affecting the entire environment.
Rapid urbanization and industrial growth have outpaced authorities' capacity to manage wastewater and pollution. It's contaminating farmland, destroying fisheries, and worsening flooding, as well as threatening the health of millions of people living on the riverbanks.
The rivers around Dhaka have turned into dumping grounds. All the waste and pollution end up here. The water is black, and there's still no sign of it getting cleaner.
For generations, these rivers gave life to Dhaka. Today it's carrying waste instead. And unless the pollution is stopped at its sources, the city's lifeline may soon be beyond saving. The World Bank says around 7,000 factories discharge an estimated 2.4 billion liters of untreated industrial waste into waterways across Greater Dhaka every day. The Supreme Court in 2019 declared the rivers living entities, affording them special protection. But for decades, the millions of dollars spent on reviving them have achieved little. Environmental groups say many projects have treated the symptoms, not the source of the pollution.
Unfortunately, due to the poor governance in the regulatory authorities, all these rivers are very much grabbed and became narrow canals and dirty drains, because the factories and industrial pollutants are directly discharged to the canals that ultimately goes to the river systems.
The UN expects Dhaka's population to exceed 52 million by 2050, and the city's greatest environmental challenge may lie not in urban planning, but in saving the rivers that surround it. Tanvi Chaudhary, Al Jazeera, Dhaka.
Hundreds of thousands of Malians have been forced from their homes as fighting between the military armed groups and Tigray separatists deepens a humanitarian crisis that is spilling across borders. Al Jazeera's Nicholas Haig reports.
This is a Malian refugee we're calling Ahmed. He says he fled to neighboring Ivory Coast because of fighting. Malian forces were 17 kilometers away. They called for help, but they never came. Among those killed, he says, were members of his own family, set alight by the fighters. Al-Qaeda says it does not target civilians. But Ahmed says people like him are caught between both sides, Al-Qaeda fighters and the Malian army failing their duties.
It hurts because after 6 years of military rule, it is clear that no real solutions have been found. They have failed to protect these villages. The state is absent. And when the state is absent, disorder takes hold. The military had been warned 2 days before the attack, as people were already preparing for what they feared was coming. They were contacted again on the day of the assault, but they never came.
The Malian armed forces have not commented about the attacks. In some cases, the army denies attacks ever took place. Al-Qaeda fighters did comment. For Malian journalists living in Abidjan, this is part of what one calls an information war. Al-Qaeda fighters, Tuareg separatists in the north, Malian forces, and Russian forces all pushing different narratives. And he says he's part of that war too. A soldier of information, going on talk shows, defending, he says, the truth.
If you know your limits, you will not be arrested. Anytime you see a Malian journalist arrested, maybe it's because of the way he speaks. We have a military's power. 6 years, he arrests a lot of people. That means there is a particular tongue. If you use it, you will be arrested.
From exile, Ahmed watches the war consume not just his village, but an entire nation. A massacre denied by some, claimed by others. Buried beneath competing narratives in Mali's growing information war are Malians trapped between the reality they live and the story they are told to believe, while suffering in silence. Nicholas Honk, Al Jazeera, Abidjan.
Thanks, Dominique. This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3D weather forecast. And that's it with the headline news for this Thursday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You can tune in tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. for rebroadcast and at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other.